Hello, and welcome back to another episode, another day with Selin. My name is Selin Bilgin. I am the founder of Luscious Living, where personal growth meets wellness. I am also a holistic hormone health nutritionist. So basically, I focus on women's hormone health really through a food-based approach. And this is a series on you sending your menopause questions and me providing as much guidance and value as possible. Please know that this is not medical advice. This is not intended to replace your doctor. So please take any sort of health information you see online as very general information. That being said, I do have virtual and in-person clients that I'd be happy to connect with you about. But let's make sure that we get some value to you first. I'll drop any link for you below. But the question that I wanted to address today is actually a menopause question from a 33-year-old. She says, I'm 33 years old and I have just had confirmation from the doctors that I'm in menopause. This was only last week, so I literally know nothing. I'm trying to educate myself as much as possible, but I'm really struggling with insomnia, anxiety, flushes to the point where I'm wet, and I'm feeling like I'm genuinely going insane. Can you have any tips for experiencing this in my early 30s? Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for asking this question. And what I'm going to dive into is really understanding the nutrients that your body will need, what we will need to do to really support your symptoms, because nothing happens randomly in the body. So understanding that sometimes there is a genetic component to this. There is a saying that genetics, some people believe it's all genetics. I'm of the camp that your genetics may predispose you, but your environment and choices can also be the trigger, essentially. And I'm not the only one who thinks that. There's a certain phrase that comes with it, but anyways. So the first aspect of this is to know that you have all of the control to really look at what you can do to support yourself. Okay, know that there is a lot you can do to support yourself. And one of the first things is really to support something called the HPA axis. This is really going to be the relationship between your adrenal glands and your brain and your hormones. And there are some simple ways using food that we can actually help with this. Okay, so the very first foundational piece of this is to really support blood sugar spikes. Blood sugar spikes happen anytime we eat, and when it starts to be detrimental is what we see in prediabetes, diabetes, PCOS, metabolic syndrome, is that blood sugar spikes too much, too often, to the point where your body stops responding to the spikes. And then therefore, that's why you have insulin, because the exogenous insulin, because the body cannot respond on its own anymore. And why this happens is usually because we're consuming too many sweet food and that is lacking fiber. So it's different. Of course, there's still sugar that you will get from eating an apple, but that apple has fiber, it has nutrients, versus if we are chronically eating pastries, for example, that's spiking blood sugar quickly. It's bringing down blood sugar, which is why you would feel tired and hungry again and craving more sugar. And you end up being in this blood sugar roller coaster all day long. To mitigate this blood sugar spike, you will need to eat more protein and more fiber. So let's take an example of a piece of toast. You have toast, and the blood sugar spike would be just plain toast. And if you want to take it further, adding jam to it. That is a recipe for a blood sugar spike. Then if you, let's say, added peanut butter, you added an egg to that, so you're adding protein. And then on the side, maybe you added some blueberries instead of jam. You added some avocado or maybe some steamed spinach. Then you're adding fiber and other nutrients. So then we're actually avoiding the blood sugar swing. Okay. So this philosophy of having more protein and more fiber walking 10 minutes after a meal, having apple cider vinegar or vinegar of any choice before a meal, building muscle. These all will help with blood sugar. Also, staying hydrated. That's another reason to be hydrated, is because being dehydrated will also spike blood sugar, as will chronic pain. Okay, so this is absolutely key. Then if you notice when you are sleepy, when you haven't had a lot of sleep or you've had issues staying asleep, then blood sugar, you're more sensitive to blood sugar swings as well, okay? And if you gain weight towards the belly, that's also a good sign that your blood sugar is a little off, okay? So that's a big one. The other aspect of this is to really make sure that you have healthy fats. Our sex hormones are the building blocks of, cholesterol is the building blocks of sex hormones. And we need these sex hormones like estrogen and progesterone, testosterone to function and feel our best. And when we see early menopause, there is a high chance that your estrogen levels, progesterone, testosterone are much lower than they need to be, which is one of the panels they would and factors they would look at. And so if we're talking about estrogen, if you have low levels of estrogen, then I'd want to look at, well, will you put on statins? Okay, because yes, while statins have their place temporarily, they will also block the production of cholesterol. And again, you need cholesterol to produce your sex hormones. Really big. If you are not having any sort of good fats, and I know the liver will produce cholesterol adequately. However, if we don't consume healthy fats coming from olive oil, coming from grass-fed butter, coming from coconut oil, and again, some of these are not appropriate for everyone, but coming from eggs, we need these kinds of fats to therefore have enough hormones. And I see this issue with a lot of my clients who are vegans and vegetarians, and I have been both at some point in my life, okay? So healthy fats, really, really important. Again, this is eggs, this is fish, like sardines, mackerel. This is going to be foods like walnuts, chia seeds, etc. I personally don't recommend having a lot of margarine and canola oil, and even cooking with avocado oil. A lot of people ask me about that, but it has a very low smoke point, meaning if you heat up avocado oil high, it actually changes the molecular structure and it's no longer as good for you. It's good for salads and maybe steaming or sauteing, okay? So we have healthy fats. Then we also need vitamin C. The adrenals need vitamin C. And why I'm actually pointing to the adrenals is because as we age, the adrenal glands start to produce most of our sex hormones instead of the ovaries. And so if we look at supporting the adrenal glands, then we also need a lot more vitamin C. Vitamin C rich foods include kiwis, tomatoes, cherries, broccoli, etc. Okay? I don't believe you need to take a supplement, and it is ideal that you eat this through whole foods. Now, from a Chinese medicine perspective, we also look at the kidney energy essentially as requiring black and salted foods. So these are foods like black beans, dates, figs. We have nori and kelp, for example. Some of those are a little bit more greenish, but dark. That's really important in naturally salty foods. You want to make sure you're first and foremost hydrated, but a good quality salt. You have wild seafood, you have wild seaweed. That's also really, really important. Then we also want to incorporate foods that are phytoestrogenic, meaning they are food that naturally contain a little bit of estrogen. Okay, and so these are flax seeds, these are soybeans. We also have different teas that can help with this. Red clover tea, for example, as well. So you really want to make sure that you are giving your adrenal glands in your body what you need to function at a baseline. Then we do have some herbs, and please use this with a naturopath. You use it with a Chinese medicine doctor, use it with a qualified herbalist, but there are some herbs that can actually help stimulate the ovaries. This is maca and white peony root as well. Okay, and you would take this first thing in the morning if this is relevant for you. Then when we look at nutrients, especially when it comes to insomnia, anxiety, and hot flashes, one of the most common reasons I see these symptoms is, first and foremost, there is a bit of an iron deficiency. No one ever told us that we needed to replenish our iron stores after having our periods, and sometimes these women can have very heavy periods leading up. If you, however, and then end up being depleted in iron. However, if you've had chronic iron deficiency, what that would look like is very scanty periods, maybe 1 to 3 days that you have a period and then it kind of leaves. And you don't really need to use that many tampons. You might have headaches. You might have cold hands and feet. Iron is absolutely key. And in my other video, I talked a little bit more about key foods for iron and supplements, so I'm going to link to that below. Then we also have B12, which I referred to in that previous video. There are a lot of really, really important keys of B12 and the other B vitamins when it comes to mental health, it comes to anxiety, it comes to insomnia. So that's really important, okay? And I have a whole podcast episode that I'll also link for you that's all about sleeping like a baby, okay? One of the big aspects about sleep is also taking care of the liver. And I encourage you to watch some of my other menopause videos because I talk a lot about cruciferous vegetables and dandelion green tea and a lot of really beautiful foods to help you with your liver. This is absolutely vital when it comes to hormone health, okay? So I wanted to make sure I keep this short and sweet. We've talked about supporting the HPA axis through healthy fats, vitamin C. We talked about phytoestrogenic foods, 2 supplements that can help, some key nutrients like iron and B12, okay? Really, really important. Those would be the first steps. And we also talked about blood sugar. That's really, really important. If you are thinking, okay, well, what do I do with this information? How do I start? Please do reach out. I'd love to send you an email or a voice note. If you would like to see if holistic nutrition and really understanding how to eat for your symptoms, how to eat in this season of your life, how that works, what it's like, I would love to talk to you. The conversations are 20 minutes that can be done virtually. I would love to hear about your needs, your goals, what else you've tried, and really help be someone who cares and can help guide you in the right direction, okay? So please be sure to submit your questions down below. I'd love to, or email them to me, as many of you have been doing. If you have any questions, if you have concerns you want to share, please reach out. I really would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And please be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube and to follow the podcast if you're listening on a podcast platform. And I hope you give this episode a 5-star review. It really means a whole lot to me. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.